It's what little boys do when they don't know how to be a man. And for me, it sounds like a cheap, manipulative way for men to feel appreciated. Hi everyone, welcome to the Lead from Love podcast. I am Yalini, I'm your host and love coach. All right, now in today's episode, I'm going to be talking about dating and specifically the games that some men are playing to manipulate you and to keep you hooked. So I'm going to go into what this is and why some men are even using this strategy to manipulate women and what it can end up costing everyone in the long run, because it's not something that only destroys women, but it can destroy men, it can destroy the relationship. And then I'm going to share what you can do instead to walk away with your sanity and your heart intact so you can avoid the years of therapy that something like this might normally take to recover from because of the damage that it can do. All right, so to start off with, what even is this game? Now, this is something that you might have already experienced. Maybe you've heard of it because it's certainly doing the rounds on social media. And the thing that gets me, the reason why I wanted to talk about this is because it's almost like it's being paraded around like it's the holy grail of relationship success. If you do this, then you'll be able to maintain the spark and the attraction and the fire in your relationship. But I want to uncover it for what it really is, because what it is just manipulative, and it is destructive to a relationship. And worse for women, it can mess with your sense of reality. It can mess with your sense of self-worth, your self-confidence. So I'm calling it out so that you don't fall victim to it. Now, this game, this strategy is something called competition anxiety. And it's a little bit similar to an old concept called treat 'em mean, keep 'em keen. But it's a one-way street. It's not something that women can do to men and vice versa. It's specifically men doing this to women. And unlike the treat 'em mean, keep 'em keen strategy, it's not about giving women the silent treatment or withdrawing or even insulting them to get their interest. It's specifically a tactic that is used to keep someone interested in you by making women feel jealous. Now, why would you even want to do this? The idea is that the jealousy creates a level of insecurity. And when you feel that insecurity and that level of tension or anxiety in the body, it's supposed to increase desire. Now, that might sound crazy to some of you. Maybe it makes sense to some of you. Jealousy could even be a trigger for those of you that have experienced cheating and betrayal. But let me give you an example of where and why this might work. So, for example, imagine there are VIP tickets to a concert that you love, that you really want to go to. Now, the fact that the VIP tickets are limited means that it creates a level of insecurity or uncertainty within you because you're not guaranteed to get them. But because they're limited, it also makes it feel exclusive, which increases desire, because who doesn't want to be part of the VIP section? And so because of that exclusivity and because of that desire, normally you're going to be less complacent. You're not going to go, there are plenty of tickets, I can grab one later. You're more likely to be proactive to try and get those VIP exclusive tickets, which means you might be on the net as soon as the tickets become available, or you might be at the box office, or you might be trying to contact people that can pull a few strings for you. And then if you get the tickets, normally that makes you feel even better. You value it so much more because not everybody has access to it. So that's where a level of insecurity or that tension, because they're limited, can increase desire, and it can also increase your appreciation for the tickets once you get them. Now, if you bring it back in the context of dating or in the context of relationships, for a woman, jealousy can get her back up. It can get her attention because we're also living in a society where women are competing against one another for men. Where do I look as pretty as her? Am I as funny as her? Am I as interesting as her? And so if there's a sense of jealousy in the body where, hey, is another woman interested in my man? It can drive her to try a little bit harder, to not get complacent, to pursue him, to appreciate him, to even take better care of herself so that she remains desirable to him. Now, That also inverts some of the masculine, feminine energy dynamics, because normally it's men that pursue if you're looking at the masculine. But I'll touch back on that later. But what it does ultimately is the driver for creating a sense of jealousy within women is so men can maintain attraction. And the need, the anxiety, the uncertainty builds on this idea of sexual tension, which can improve or maintain the quality of the relationship. So, for example, if you think about the early stages of dating when things aren't exclusive and you don't know if he's dating other people or he doesn't know if you're dating other people, that level of uncertainty can increase desire, and it can build on that tension where you go, oh, if he's going out looking good and you're not going out with him and you don't know if he's talking to someone else, that tension that builds in the body so that when you do see him can make you want him more. Now, here's what I want to say that might surprise some people. I actually don't think that all jealousy is bad. I believe that there is a role for jealousy in a healthy relationship. And there are some coaches out there that might even go as far as saying that jealousy is how you know if you love somebody. Because if the person that you are interested in, or if your partner is going out and they look good and they smell good, and you're not going out with them, if there isn't a little twang of, a little bit of discomfort, how do you know you really value them? Because typically, you know that you care about something when it evokes an emotional response within you. Now, hey, you may have been together for so long that you have such a deep level of trust and commitment that you don't even think twice. But generally, there's a little bit of discomfort or resistance or even desire that's created when they go out looking good, or they're out with you but someone's talking to them and you can tell that they're getting a little bit of attention. Normally that creates a feeling in the body, and that feeling, which can be jealousy on a spectrum, whether you call it discomfort or full-blown jealousy where it's real insecurities and real tension. But that is a feedback mechanism that lets you know you care about something, and it can increase your investment and your commitment in the relationship, which can help keep the spark alive and prevent partners from taking each other for granted. And it can prevent a level of complacency where we let ourselves go. So jealousy can help foster levels of appreciation or admiration or respect, because it supports you to keep acknowledging the value of the person that you have in front of you. And by extension, healthy levels of jealousy can help create a sense of desire for your partner, which can enhance connection and intimacy, where you become closer. It can strengthen bonds. But here's the thing. I'm talking about a form of jealousy that happens in a natural way. When maybe he's having a boys' night out and you're seeing him getting dressed up and looking nice and getting ready to head out and have a night without you, where, maybe you don't get to enjoy him looking delicious. Or perhaps, where you're out together for the night and maybe you see women checking him out, or he's chatting to a group of friends and he's being funny and charismatic and getting attention. Because in those scenarios, it's natural to feel a twang of jealousy, but this can be healthy. It can even be important for the relationship because it can spark passion and desire and appreciation, like I mentioned before. But I'm not talking about a form of jealousy that needs to be artificially created to get a rise out of you, where he heads out and looks good to intentionally chat women up to make sure that you see that other women are giving him attention, or where he comes home to tell you just how many women hit on him that night so that you know he has other options, or where he flirts and is provocative with other women to make you anxious and uncomfortable, because all of this is done in a way to prove his desirability so that you step up and appreciate him because you fear losing him. And here's why I disagree with this approach. For me, these aren't characteristic traits of a man. This is what I would expect to see in a little boy, because what it reminds me of is that little boy at school that, pushes the little girl as his way of saying that he likes her. It's the little boy that needs to hurt somebody to get a response. And it doesn't show signs of maturity or development, because a grown man, a mature, quality man, shows up to invest in his woman. He shows up to invest in the relationship, because he also knows that whatever you give a woman, she will double it. Just like that old saying where if you give a woman a house, she turns it into a home. If you give her produce and food, she turns it into a meal. If you give her sperm, she turns it into a baby. So he knows that when he invests in her, he gets more in return. So he makes the effort. He makes the effort to take care of himself, to dress well, and to do things to make her feel special and feel appreciated, because he knows that he'll get more respect, more nurturing, more love in return. So playing these games of manipulation, I see that as a cop-out. It's a lazy way to get attention, because basically it's a man that doesn't want to show up to actually be better in the relationship, a man that doesn't want to invest in the relationship or his partner to actually be able to foster that connection and that bond, and instead just uses this game as a green card to flirt with other women under the guise of saving his relationship. And what's worse is that if a woman was to call him out on it and say, hey, you're not loving or respecting me, he could turn around with lies and manipulation and say, hey, I'm doing this for you. I'm doing this for us. I'm doing it for our relationship. That is the worst form of gaslighting. So my true sense is that competition anxiety isn't about nurturing your relationship. It's about fueling a man's ego so that he feels good about himself. It's about hurting your partner and manipulating them into desiring you because you are unable or unwilling to create that desire in them yourself. It's what little boys do when they don't know how to be a man. And for me, it sounds like a cheap, manipulative way for men to feel appreciated. And look, here's how it falls short, because like I said, women will multiply what they are given. So if you are giving her insecurity by going out there and flirting with other people, making her feel like there are other people that want you, and if she doesn't step up, she'll lose you, that insecurity, she's going to double it and give you a headache. You create those levels of jealousy within a woman, and she's most likely going to become controlling, because feelings of insecurity can create a relentless need for reassurance, and that can create a strain on a relationship. And then if it goes further, that can breed control issues, because that level of jealousy, of insecurity, and a lack of safety, it can make them suspicious and unsafe, which means they might start to monitor your behavior. They might check your phone. They might need to know where you are. They might demand constant validation. Do you really care about me? Are you talking to someone else? And even worse for some women, they might start to tell men where they can and can't go, whether or not it's effective. You can't hang out with these friends, and I need you home by this time. So the real cost of playing games like that is that where men might do it to feel appreciated, feel desired, to build tension and heat in a relationship, they might just end up feeling suffocated. They might feel like they're being unfairly scrutinized, and they have all this heat on them because now she's always breathing down his neck, which means that can lead to withdrawal, it can lead to resentment, and it can lead to more gaslighting behavior, because now the trust is broken. So you're now caught in a potentially toxic cycle of insecurity and betrayal, with more resentment and more jealousy, and not just erodes at the relationship, but it erodes at the essence of the woman, of the man, because especially as a woman, we're living in a world where we're taught to compete against one another, and she can lose her identity in that. She might start to question her reality, and then she's no longer the woman that man might have appreciated, because it's like she's going crazy in her head. She doesn't know what to believe anymore. She doesn't trust herself anymore. She doesn't have that confidence that she had before. And if that's not enough to stop people from playing this game, here's the other reality hit. A game like competition anxiety assumes that the man is already attractive or valuable enough to be desired by other women, that he can go out, go to the bar, dress well, and that women will be interested in him. Because here's the reality. Only about 20% of men get access to 80% of women. Because most women, they want the man that's tall and attractive and has a good job and has this nice masculine energy. And so for a lot of men, this sets them up for disappointment because they can start playing these games and they might not get the attention from other women that they may have anticipated. But now by playing these games, they're just destroying their own relationship with a partner that loved them and that was committed to them, or potential woman they were dating that they could have had a future with. So instead of playing these games, the focus is better placed by taking care of yourself, by communicating if you don't feel appreciated, by showing up for one another, by making time for one another, and even sometimes giving each other space to miss each other, whether that means he goes off and has a boys' night or she has a girls' night, and you get to see the other person get dressed up and go out without you. Because that will naturally create a feeling of tension in the body when you see your partner leave the house without you, because you naturally desire them, and it can build that desire naturally without having to manufacture and manipulate it. Because if you're having to manipulate a woman to want you, to desire you, and to pursue you, you're also inverting the masculine and feminine energies, because leading and pursuing is a naturally masculine trait. If you're looking for a relationship where the man is the masculine energy and the woman is the predominantly feminine energy, playing these games puts her in her masculine energy. It puts her in almost a fight or flight mode where she needs to defend herself, where she's chasing and pursuing and almost, trying to control the masculine. And it steps her out of her warm, loving, nurturing, feminine energy, which is typically where most men want their feminine partner to be, because they want that beautiful hug when they come home. They want that love. They want that connection. They want that warmth. Because when a woman feels safe and secure in a relationship, she softens into her feminine. She doesn't nag as much. She's normally softer and playful and caring. So if you don't like what you're getting as the masculine, I would recommend that you look at what you are putting in. Because again, women take what you give them and they multiply. And if you start playing games, they will multiply the headaches that you get, because that is what they are experiencing. So instead of playing games of competition, anxiety, and insecurity and instability, to have a healthy relationship, it requires safety, it requires security, it requires trust. Because a healthy relationship is built on love and on support and genuine connection. Because women, especially if you're talking about the feminine energy, it requires certainty, to feel safe, to feel secure, and to be able to surrender, so that instead of trying to protect themselves, they can actually let their walls down, to open their heart, to be more loving. And that is what inspires deep connection and intimacy. Because typically, women need to feel emotionally safe in order to be physically available. And that is the foundation for lasting, healthy relationships. Because that physical safety, that emotional safety, it creates reassurance and trust. And that is what enables couples to navigate through challenges, to communicate openly, to strengthen their bond. Because without that trust, without that loyalty, without that safety, relationships end up being filled with anxiety, with doubt, and with insecurity. And that often becomes the breeding ground for chaos, for fear, for paranoia, for hounding and controlling you. And what you really want is typically emotional connection. It's emotional intimacy that flourishes in an environment of safety and security, which allows couples to share their deepest desires, to share their fears, to share their dreams with each other, creating a deeper sense of connection and intimacy. And also it creates the safe space for them to be able to communicate where their needs potentially aren't being met so they can be resolved in a healthy way without having to resort to manipulative games. Because like I said earlier, jealousy can be a normal part of any healthy relationship, but it comes out naturally, not in a way that needs to be forced, because that can be the breeding ground for chaos and destruction. And it can destroy a woman in terms of her identity and her self-worth and her ability to trust another person. And it can destroy a man. And the reason it can still destroy men is because he can lose a good woman, but he can also lose trust in women in general, because all of a sudden they turn crazy in his company, that he'll start to believe that no good women exist, that relationships are hard, that there's no point going down that path. And that just leaves all of us feeling alone. So I just want you to remember, if you are wanting to light a spark in your relationship, the healthiest way to do that is through instilled trust and respect and communication. And sometimes that might mean also giving each other a little bit of space, so he can have a boys' night or you can have a girls' night, because you don't always need to play games to increase attraction. Sometimes you just need time to miss each other, but in a way that still prioritizes emotional well-being, so that you maintain the trust, the respect, the communication, which are the foundations of any successful relationship, not through emotional games and manipulation. So let's cultivate love, support, and genuine connection so we can all keep our sanity and our hearts intact.